When you employ your minor kids through your S corporation, you have to pay payroll taxes on the wages. An interesting thing is the IRS does allow a sole proprietorship or partnership to pay minor kids without having to pay payroll taxes. Well, your S corporation can take advantage of this same benefit by using a loophole. The main reason that you are going to use this loophole is to reduce the taxable income of your S corporation with the wages that you pay your kids. If you set it up right, the income that you shift to your kids will be non taxable income. If you pay your kids at or below the standard deduction, your kids won't owe any federal taxes. Also, you won't have to pay payroll taxes. This will result in absolutely no taxes being paid on the wages that you pay your kids. As I mentioned in another video, I like the idea of paying a minor child through a business that is owned 100% by the child's parents because you can use tax free money to fund an IRA for your child at an early age and potentially grow the IRA over a long period of time. The loophole workaround involves setting up a separate company, and I'm going to discuss setting up the company in this video, but there are several rules that you have to follow to make sure that the wages will be tax free. It is very important that you follow the rules, but I'm not going to discuss those here. Please watch the video that popped up above detailing the rules that you need to follow in order to satisfy the IRS. Before I get into how to set up your separate company, I do want to go over some things. You do not want to go through the trouble of setting this up if the cost is going to outweigh the tax savings. So please make sure that you analyze any expenses that you may incur before setting up anything. IRS examiners are trained to look for shams. Please do not use this strategy just to create a fake arrangement. Make sure that you have a legitimate reason for paying your kids. Make sure that you are paying your kids at a rate that you would pay a stranger. Make sure that the job that you give your child is appropriate for their age. For example, you can always hire your kids to maintain your website, run your social media accounts, be a model or actor for your company, fill out spreadsheets, or do administrative tasks. Whatever you do, never take a loss on the separate company that you set up. You will run the risk of the company being classified as a hobby and everything will unravel and the deductions might be denied. Now, I know that some tax planners recommend that instead of setting up a separate company to pay your kids, that you can simply increase distributions to you, the shareholder, and just give the money to your kids out of your personal funds. That can be a strategy because it would be tax free, but you have to be careful with distributions because IRS examiners look at distributions very closely. When I was an IRS examiner, we would disallow distributions if the distributions were too high. We would then classify the distributions as wages and assess payroll taxes. As a S corporation, you really want to keep distributions as low as possible and use other tax strategies instead to lower your taxable income. So the strategy we are discussing today makes some taxpayers nervous, but aggressive S corps use this tax loophole to pay their minor kids all the time. Although this loophole has been around for quite some time, Congress is always making changes to tax laws. So you should check with your tax advisor every year to make sure that it is still okay to use this strategy. The best way to use the loophole is to create a family management company. The only purpose of this management company would be to hire your kids and pay them for their services. Also, if your parents or other relatives or friends own a company and want to pay your kids, they can pay your management company instead of paying your kids directly. For instance, if your parents want to contribute to your kids' college fund, they can hire your child to do a social media commercial for their company and pay a fee to your management company. Your parents will have a deduction on their business tax return, and your management company will have a deduction for paying your child. Since your management company will only be working with friends and family, you don't have to set up an LLC or anything fancy. You can set up the management company using a DBA and just get a separate EIN and a separate bank account. The management company does have to be owned only by you and or your spouse and taxed as a proprietorship or a partnership. You will create a contract between your S corporation and your management company for any services that your child will perform. You can also set up a contract between your parents' company and your management company if your parents want your child to do some work for their company. So basically, you would set up a contract between the management company and any company that will use your child's services. The IRS says that all business arrangements between controlled companies have to be at arm's length. In order to meet the arm's length standard, please make sure that all agreements between related parties would have the same results as those occurring between strangers. You will also set up employment contracts between your management company and your kids. You will list out their responsibilities and a reasonable wage for their work. Please be sure to abide by the labor laws and wage requirements in your state. If you're interested in buying some contract templates to help you get started, please check the description box for this video. Please remember, you don't want your management company to pay your child more than the standard deduction for the year because you don't want your child to pay taxes on the income. The federal standard deduction for 2023 is $13,850. If the standard deduction for your state income tax return is lower than the federal deduction, then you don't want to pay your child more than the state standard deduction instead of the federal standard deduction. Please set up a bank account in your child's name with you or your spouse as the custodian. The bank account can be an IRA, 401k, or investment account if you want. Please make sure to pay your child at least once per month using direct deposit or with a check. Please do not use cash. Always keep documentation of the services that your child performs. Please make sure that you run the management company just like you would any other company and file payroll tax returns and any other tax forms. Make sure to issue a W-2 to your child from the management company after the year is over. When you prepare the tax return for your S corporation, you will have a deduction for outside services for the amounts that you paid to the management company. You will issue a 1099 from your S corporation to your management company for the amounts paid. Your management company should have a Schedule C or K-1 with the 1099 amount as revenue and a deduction for the wages that you paid to your child. The net taxable income for the management company should be zero. Again, never go below zero and create a loss for the management company. After the year is over, file a tax return for your child using their W-2. Their tax should be zero. As you can see, it will take some effort to set up and use this workaround. I shared this information with you as a possible strategy, but you should analyze your situation to see if this strategy will work for you. I'm not providing official tax advice or legal advice. Please consult with your tax advisor for personalized planning. Now, if you do decide to use this tax loophole to pay your minor kids, please be sure to watch the video that's on your screen right now. It is very important that you follow the guidelines mentioned in that video. Thanks for spending time with me and subscribing. Take care.